Morning children, today we are starting with digestive system, chapter 5 in your biozoology. Think of the food that we eat. It provides energy and organic substances for growth and replacement of the worn out and damaged tissues in our body, and it regulates and coordinates various activities that take place in our body. And components of the food, as you see in this diagram, they are carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, vitamins, minerals, fiber and water. Okay, so we obtain food from plants and animals, and the food that we eat, they are macromolecules and they cannot enter directly into our cells. So, what should be done? It has to be broken into micromolecules in absorbable form, and that is the need for the digestive system, to break them into micromolecules. So, the primary function of the digestive system is to bring nutrients, water and electrolytes from the external environment into every cell in the body through the circulatory system. Okay, the process of digestive system involves ingestion. Ingestion is intake of food. Digestion, breakdown of food into micromolecules. Absorption of these molecules into the bloodstream. And then assimilation. Assimilation is the absorbed substances becoming components of the cells. And then finally egestion. Egestion is elimination of the undigested substances. So we will start with the structure of the alimentary canal. Alimentary canal mainly for nutrient absorption. Okay, it keeps our intestinal tract free from pathogenic bacteria and virus. And about 7 liters of digestive juice are poured into the alimentary canal and are reabsorbed each day. If that doesn't happen, otherwise the body gets dehydrated and it may lead to reduction in blood pressure. Okay, so continuous muscular digestive tract is the alimentary canal, and it begins with the anterior opening, the mouth. Okay, opens out posteriorly through the anus, and it consists of the mouth, buccal cavity, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, intestine, rectum and anus. So buccal cavity, it starts with the mouth where the reception of food happens and leads to the oral cavity. Mechanical digestion, that is chewing with the help of teeth and tongue, happens here. Chemical digestion is through salivary enzymes secreted by the salivary glands. Thecodont means the socket in the jawbone where each tooth is embedded. Diphyodont, 2 sets of teeth in a person's lifetime. Okay, it is your milk teeth, which is a set of 20 temporary teeth and which is replaced by the permanent teeth, and that is a set of 32 teeth. Okay, then heterodont is 4 types of permanent teeth that human beings have. Okay, incisors, canines, premolars and molars. And about the tongue and the buccal cavity. Tongue is freely movable muscular organ. It is attached to the posterior end by the frenulum to the floor of the buccal cavity and is free in the front. Okay, and this acts as a universal toothbrush. It helps to intake food, chew and mix food with saliva and to swallow food, and it also helps us to speak. Papillae is the small projections on the upper surface of the tongue with the taste buds. Then the food moves into the pharynx. Pharynx is the oral cavity leads into the short common passage for food and air. Okay, and that is called as the pharynx. The esophagus and trachea open into the pharynx. Food passes into the esophagus through a wide opening called the gullet at the back of the pharynx. A cartilaginous flap called epiglottis prevents the entry of food into the glottis during swallowing. Okay, then what happens? The esophagus. Food enters the esophagus. It is a thin, long, muscular tube. It is concerned with the conduction of food into a J-shaped stomach, passing through the neck, the thorax and the diaphragm. The cardiac sphincter regulates the opening of esophagus into the stomach. So some people may have GERD. GERD is gastroesophagus reflex disorder, which happens when the cardiac sphincter does not contract properly during the churning action of the stomach. What happens? The gastric juice with acid may flow back into the esophagus and it causes heartburn. Okay. Then the food goes to the stomach. Stomach, the functions as a temporary storage organ for food. It is located in the upper left portion of the abdominal cavity. And the three parts of the stomach are the cardiac portion, into which the esophagus opens. Then we have the fundic portion, as you see in the picture. Then the pyloric portion that opens into the duodenum. Pyloric sphincter guards the opening of the stomach into the duodenum. Gastric is the inner wall of the stomach that has many folds, which unfolds to accommodate large meal when you eat more. Okay. Then we have the small intestine. That is where the food that you eat travels to after the stomach. It assists in the final digestion and absorption of food. And it is the longest part of the alimentary canal. Three portions. There are three portions in the small intestine. U-shaped duodenum, a long coiled middle portion which we called as the jejunum, and then a highly coiled lower portion, the ileum. Okay, the wall of the duodenum has Brunner's glands which secrete mucus and enzymes. Then the ileum opens into the chiasm of the large intestine. So the ileal mucosa has numerous vascular projections called the villi, which are involved in the process of absorption of the nutrients. The cells lining the villi produce numerous microscopic projections and they are called as microvilli. Ileal mucosa contains mucus secreting goblet cells and lymphoid tissue known as Peyer's patches. They also produce lymphocytes. Then the food next moves into the large intestine. The large intestine consists of the colon and the rectum. This is the small blind pouch-like structure that opens into the colon. Possesses a narrow finger-like tubular projection and we call it as vermiform appendix. Okay, colon is divided into four regions: an ascending, a transverse, a descending part and a sigmoid column. Sigmoid column is the one which leads or opens into the rectum, and this rectum is the place where fecus is stored temporarily. The rectum open out through the anus. So after digestion, the undigested and waste food is sent to the rectum, and this anus is guarded by two sphincter muscles. Anal mucosa is folded into several vertical folds and contains arteries and veins called as anal columns. Anal column may get enlarged and cause piles and hemorrhoids if there is problem excreting the waste. Now, after looking at the structure of the alimentary canal, we are going to try to understand the histology of gut. Okay, the wall of the alimentary canal from esophagus to the rectum. It consists of 4 layers, the wall. Okay, serosa, muscularis, submucosa and mucosa. Serosa, which is the visceral peritoneum. It is the outermost layer and is made up of thin squamous epithelium with some connective tissues, and you know that. Muscular is made up of smooth, circular and longitudinal muscle fibers with a network of nerve cells and parasympathetic nerve fibers which controls peristalsis. Submucosal layer formed of loose connective tissue containing nerves, blood lymph vessels and the sympathetic nerve fibers that control the secretion of intestinal juice. Finally, mucosa, it is the innermost layer lining the lumen of the alimentary canal and it secretes mucosa. Digestive glands. The digestive glands are exocrine glands. Okay, and they secrete biological catalysts called as enzymes. So we learn about liver, gastric glands, intestinal glands, pancreas and salivary gland. Okay, starting with salivary gland, there are 3 pairs of glands in the mouth. Pharynx gland, which is in the cheeks, submaxillary or submandibular in the lower jaw, and the sublingual beneath the tongue. And salivary juice secreted by the salivary glands reach the mouth through some ducts. The next is the gastric glands. This lines the wall of the stomach. Here the peptic cells secrete gastric enzymes, goblet cells secrete mucus, and parietal cells secrete HCl, hydrochloric acid, and the Castle's intrinsic factor.
Liver, the largest gland in our body, is situated in the upper right side of the abdominal cavity, just below the diaphragm. The liver consists of 2 major left and right lobes and 2 minor lobes. These lobes are connected with diaphragm. Each lobe has many hepatic lobules and is covered by a thin connective tissue sheath called the Glissen's capsule. Liver cells or hepatic cells secrete bile. Bile is stored and concentrated in a thin muscular sac called the gallbladder. The duct of the gallbladder along with the hepatic duct from the liver forms the common bile duct. The bile duct passes downwards and joins with the main pancreatic duct to form a common duct called hepatopancreatic duct. And this opens into the duodenum and is guarded by a sphincter called the sphincter or OD. Liver has high power of regeneration. Other important functions of liver are destroying aging and defective blood cells, stores glucose in the form of glycogen, and also stores fat-soluble vitamins and ions. It detoxifies toxic substances and involves in the synthesis of non-essential amino acids and urea. The second largest gland in the digestive system is the pancreas, which is yellow colored, compound elongated organ consisting of exocrine and endocrine cells. It is situated between the limbs of the U-shaped duodenum. The exocrine portion secretes pancreatic juice containing enzymes such as pancreatic amylase, trypsin and pancreatic lipase and the endocrine part called islets of Langerhans secretes hormones such as insulin and glucagon. The pancreatic duct directly opens into the duodenum.
So children, recap. In today's class, we learnt about the importance of digestive system, the structure of the alimentary canal, the histology of duct and the digestive glands. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. Thank you children.